Hello. Welcome to another wonderful episode of the Paco Taco podcast. I got to get used to that. As you
Yes.
know, I rebranded.
Yes.
So I don't have a video of it, unfortunately, but I recorded an episode of the podcast with my nephew. Username random, name is Balin. We recorded the audio portion. I got myself these wonderful lavalier mics, wireless, so you can clip to it. So we didn't get a video portion, but I still got to get used to the name change. So it's no longer an interview with, it is Paco's Taco Podcast.
Nice.
So hello. On today's episode, been on one episode before?
Yes.
One. So this is the wonderful Jeremy. Username
Northside Manic.
There you go. I know that you have an alt, so I didn't want to say the alt.
I appreciate it.
How are you, good sir?
I'm good. Good. Busy, but very good.
I know you've been busy.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of different what do they call that? Fires in the oven or something like that.
Yeah, pokers in the fire.
Yeah, perfect. We'll go with that.
Yeah. different pokers in the fire.
Yes.
Yeah, you have been killing it. You have been absolutely killing it lately.
Appreciate it.
I know you've been busy, but busy now to be less busy later.
Correct. Exactly the plan.
There was a good quote from a friend of mine that I absolutely love. Diversification is protection from ignorance.
True. Very true. And I'm definitely diversifying. No question on that.
Yes. Very, very much so.
Yes.
Speaking of, that's a perfect segue. Today's episode, for those of you that don't know, Northside here does 3D printing.
I do.
Wonderful prints too. I have to say, every single one of them has been, except that one for Old Man Joe. But that's, you had issues with that. Issues with it. It wasn't the print. Right. It wasn't the machine. It was a specific part, right?
Correct. Yeah, one of the parts just did not. I actually think it was part of the design, which unfortunately I am working towards, but don't have yet the skill set to design work. So I believe it was actually the design of the print itself was a little bit off. And when that happens, it just doesn't print right, like no matter what you do. So
not much you can do.
No, not at all.
Well, okay. So what first got you interested in 3D printing? Like where did that thought start?
Sure. Actually, one of my coworkers kind of got me involved. He was a 3D printer. I hired him actually from my main job and hired him in. He brought in a print, which was just something basic, just a little figurine. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. He's like, yeah, I have 3D printers that I do at home. And we got talking about more and more, and it was something that I absolutely loved the idea of. Just being able to create something completely random or completely functional, however you want to look at it, and make something from nothing. Like, to me, that's just super exciting. I mean, some people may look at that and be like, well, that's kind of stupid, but that's okay. I mean, everybody has their things. But so I bought my first machine, which in case anybody does want to know, it was an Ender 5 Plus, which is a Creality brand. So it was it's a bigger print bed volume than a standard start. I started with a harder machine, not knowing. So, there were some quirks.
Give me that most difficult one.
Yeah.
I want that one. I want that one.
Yep. I didn't make it easier as I went on, but that's another story. But so
on a positive, if you start and you learn on a more difficult one, you buy an easier one and you're like, whoa, I'm a pro at this.
Exactly. So it worked out really well. Did some modifications to it, and it's actually my best printer as it stands right now. So spent probably, to get started, you can start a lot cheaper than I did. So please understand what I'm going to tell you. I probably put about $900 into my first machine total.
Okay.
It was brand new. It was actually the only one I've bought brand new, because now I kind of know how to tweak them enough that I can get deals on them and make them work for me.
You know the ins
So
and outs.
a little bit. So I try to find deals on them when I can, or if they're like going on clearance because the company's no longer going to make them, I'll snatch them up new at that point, but I don't pay full price anymore. So, but
Okay.
it was between, modifications and some trial and error and some goof ups on my end. It was about $900. The machine
Okay.
was 600 and I put about $300 into it with different components to make it better, I guess
Okay.
would be the best way. So that's
So
kind of how I got started into it. And then from there, it's kind of progressed.
okay. So if it might have been a little bit ago, but do you remember what your first ever print was? Whether you can do the unsuccessful first print or you can do the first successful print.
No, I do remember my first print. It was actually a bunny about this big, just a white bunny. And actually I gave it to my niece.
Okay.
She received my first print that I've ever made.
Hey.
And then after that, I had about 6 fails in a row because there is a difference, and I am happy to go into that.
Go
There's a
for it.
difference between FDM printing, which is what you'll see on those spools, which is a roll of plastic that you buy,
Uh-huh.
and resin printing, which is a liquid. So there's a major difference, and I was trying to make an FDM printer do what resin printing is designed to do. So yeah, so I learned from my mistakes on that end, and then
Oof.
finally figured that out.
Okay.
So, and don't get me wrong, my coworker was great in the whole process. He definitely gave me some guidance and some help,
Mm-hmm.
definitely helped me tweak the machinery. So I owe him a lot. He's actually also, he sells prints as well. We actually
Okay.
partnership quite a bit. We've done flea markets together. We actually probably in May, keep this in mind for anybody. We're going to probably be at Comic-Con, Detroit Comic-Con, actually selling our prints.
Next year
So
in May.
next year in May. So yep,
Hey, I like it.
gonna be there. And the ultimate goal for me, not maybe not him, but my ultimate goal is to be at San Diego's, the International. That is
Ooh.
going to be my goal in the next about 3 to 5 years. So
Hey, that's it. See, that's you gotta have a goal.
you
So
do.
a goal, what is it? A dream written down is a goal. A goal with a timeline is I lost the quote. I lost the quote.
No,
But
yep.
there's something in there. It's a dream written down is a goal, and a goal with a timeline is an action plan.
Yep.
I think that's what the quote is.
I believe you're right.
But if you have a dream and you want to pursue your dream, write it down.
True.
Write it down and then work from what you want to do. So I saw another huge goal setting exercise is write out what you want to do by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Then break that down into every 3 months. And now you have checkpoints. And then write that down. How are you going to hit that first checkpoint, that first 3 months checkpoint? Break that down into months and then break it into weeks or however little you want to do. Even if you want to do a day, like for example, let's say for yours, you want to sell, I don't know, 100 prints in a year. Great, fantastic. So then you want to make sure that you do 50 at the halfway mark, 25, 50, 75, and then 100, right?
Yep.
So in order to hit the 25 prints sold in the first 3 months, you have to, what's 25 divided by 3? What is that? 6 with the, or not 6, 8,
It's
right? 8 plus 1.
8.33333.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then 8, you have to do 8 in 1 month. All right. Well,
Yep.
then how many prints do I need to print off in order to sell that many? You know?
Sure. Mm-hmm. No, it's absolutely true. And and that's the cool thing about it. I did bring some samples so people can kind of see what gets done.
For those on the listening to the podcast, you should go check out the video. I'll leave it in the link.
Yes.
I'll leave a link in the description, I should say.
So, there are different types, like I said, of printing. I'm going to show you what it's called an FDM print. So
Okay.
now this is, I mean, my camera is not the greatest, but I'll bear with me. So
If you
this
hold
is
it back towards your face, it
Yep.
actually shows it better.
All right, that'll work. I can do
Yeah,
that.
it focuses.
So this is a dragon that's all flexible, like legitimately every piece of it moves. And that's an FDM print. Now, this is shrunk because you can also adjust sizing. on printers. So this is much smaller than what it actually starts at. This is 50% less than what
Okay.
the actual size of a print is. But I make them smaller because they're more feasible for people to be able to purchase.
Yes.
And then you can have bigger prints, such as the Hulk. And it
Oh,
says,
shiny.
yeah, it is. It's a shiny Hulk because that's a type of filament that you can do. Then
Okay.
you have stuff that you can make that's out of resin. And that's why I'm saying the difference. You notice the sizing of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't really go any smaller than that dragon as far as that type of print.
Okay.
But when you want to do a resin, you can make much smaller prints and have them turn out very, very successfully.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yep. Now, in addition to that, resin can be bigger. Don't get me wrong. This is all resin 3D printed.
Oh. Mm. Mm-hmm.
So
For those listening, again, if you want to check out the video, it is you had the dragon that's movable, the Hulk bust,
yep.
and then
One's a Minotaur, a little Pikachu figurine, and then the last one was actually Bulbasaur, Venusaur, and Ivysaur from Pokemon. So, yep. It's like I said, you can do a lot of different things with them, and it's basically up to your imagination. If you want a lampshade that has Harry Potter on it, you can literally make a lithogram is what they're called, and it'll actually shine the light through it and you'll have Harry Potter. You want wall art can be done. You want anything that you can pretty much imagine. You want a pocket knife? You can make one. It's going to be plastic. It's not going to do you a whole lot, but metal 3D printing is a thing. It is becoming much more affordable to be able to do. So I probably will be buying those at some point. But right now there's still about $5,000 to $8,000 to start.
I was just about to say that's going to be a little.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher than I'm willing to do right now. And
yeah. So just to go for those listening and watching, the material used, it's filament, right? It's just thin, like it's a band, like almost like a band of plastic, right? On a spool.
It's a roll of plastic. Yes. There are different types of it. For instance, I primarily use what they call PLA. It is food grade. Actually, you can eat off of it. It is completely fine. Yep, I know. So I can make forks and technically print my own plastic forks if I want it. That is a complete thing. They are food grade. So you can use it in water. I don't suggest boiling water because it probably will melt. But there's that type. There's TPU, which is a squishy material, meaning like you want to make a bouncy ball out of it. It'll actually bounce and flex and all of that. It's much more flexible. Yep. There is a PETG. It's called PETG. That's what we call it. It's a stronger type. It's gonna be much harder to break, but it prints very nice. And then ABS is actually the strongest type that you can make. It is a much higher heat volume, so you can actually use that for cooking utensils. But I have to check on the food grade safety of that, but it actually withstands to better heat. So it's lots of different types for lots of different things. You can print with wood. You can actually make a wood filament. They make that is 20% wood and 80% plastic. You can sand it, you can stain it. It is treated just like that. You can do carbon fiber. That is also completely plausible. So there is a ton of different stuff. There's a ton, and that's just a few of them. There is a ton of different types. So there's a lot of different things you can do with the filament.
So for those that are beginning or looking to begin 3D printing, what, in your opinion, what would be the best first purchase / what are some tips that you made, or what's some tips for people on mistakes that you have made that would help them better start?
Sure. First thing, don't just jump in and not research enough. Researching is very key. Research a machine that you think would be your style. Personally, what I believe, to answer kind of two-pronged here on the same question, an Ender 3 is probably the most known printer that you can possibly get. They start at about $100, so they're not expensive. They're a very good running machine. They're worldwide, all over the place. You can find any video you want on it to research, study. That would be the starting one that I would probably go with for most people to start out. See if you like it. It's not an arm and a leg on cost. You can probably start your first print for about 150. So legitimately between the filament, between, setup and time, it's probably about $150. So that would be what I would start, but definitely do your research, because if you don't, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to quit right away, because there are a lot of things that happen. Biggest key is stay calm when they do, because things are not going to turn out the way you want all the time. Before I made the Hulk bust that I had shown you, it had failed twice. So there's little quirks that you learn. You download a program. I use Cura. That's Creality's brand of slicing program. So that's something that you're going to want to look into, see what different line heights and layer shifts. And there's a ton of stuff in there. I mean, I could go through it and like give you a definition of what that looks like, but to keep it simple, when you set up that print, density is going to matter. How heavy do you want it to be? How much infill in that machine do you want? So that's something that in that print, the more infill you have, the heavier that's going to be, the stronger it's going to be as well. So the less likely it's going to break. But with that comes cost, because the more you put in there, the more of that roll filament you're using. So that's one of the key things. Your lines are another. And what I mean by lines is it's how thick the walls are of your print. You can get away with going with less infill with more lines, because it's structurally stronger on the outside. It's just hollower on the inside. So again, you can tweak it that way. Those two things are kind of key. And then your supports are going to be very important. Your supports are when something like this on the underarm, right? You can see a little bit of that. I did not have supports on it very well. So that's why you have just a little bit of layer shifting there.
Yeah. So while it's still hot, it'll drip down a little bit.
It's actually because it's printing in no man's land is what we call it. So there's not really anything holding that area. It's printing well, but there's not a nice thin line that it has to connect to. So a lot of it is also called bridging with that. So you want to make sure that when you put your supports in, you're always going to have something that's there. Unfortunately, you can sand this material and make it smooth. But again, time and effort. What are you looking to do with it? So it does depend on the individual. Some people, they want a perfect print. They'll paint them all, they'll sand them all. And that's awesome. Like I said, I wish I was gifted in that area. It takes a lot of time and effort and practice for painting. I mean, you look at a lot of artists, it's an artwork, it's an art form. So
yeah, of course.
I don't even draw stick figures well. So for me, like I said, it's just not a great thing, but you want to make sure that your supports are set properly. And that there are enough to cover the areas that you're concerned about. Again, that's where the research comes in. So like I said, I could happily give you 100 different things not to do, but I still struggle with certain things at times. I mean, some things you do everything right and it still doesn't work, or something happens to the printer. There's clogs that happen. There's definite fails of a Boeing tube, which is a little tube that the plastic goes into. That then feeds into the machine. So there are ways to avoid those. You can buy something called an all metal hot end, which you no longer require a tube. It actually is just a very small tube that goes into the machine instead of this massive Boeing tube. So there are lots of different things you can do. And that's why I'm saying, see what fits you. If you're more of a hobbyist and just, hey, I would like to be able to make a cool, Hulk bust, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. That Ender will do everything you want it to do in that case. But if you're thinking, well, I've always been interested in making multiple things or potentially making like D&D figurines for your game and
Mm.
setup board. Yep. That is a different ball game. You're going to want to go into the resin side of things.
See,
And
I'm sitting here thinking, like, okay, well, I have a Warhammer 40K army.
mhm,
I'm not saying printing off because that's illegal. Because
right.
you're not allowed to print off. That's why they sell them. But that doesn't mean you can't print off landscape,
Sure. Well,
ruins, and
and just so you know, for copyright, because that's a very good point. That Hulk bust, for instance, is my personal use. I can print that.
Mhm.
I can't sell that.
Yeah.
So you can print off your Warhammer army for you and for your use. You cannot sell it to somebody else.
Okay.
So
I was gonna say, because that's sort of in that tricky.
it's a
You know.
navigating thing. So keep in mind, like when a copyright's put in place, it's prevented for you to sell. It's not
Okay.
you can make, for instance, if you wanted to build a Mercedes from the ground up and use their logo, you didn't buy it, but you can still drive it.
Okay.
So it works the same way in that regard. And you can do the same thing. Like I said, this Venusaur here it's not my right
Yeah.
to sell it, but I can make it for my personal use. So there are things in that nature. And don't get me wrong, there are lots of people that sell this stuff illegally. I'm not gonna say that they don't. Yep, and it's a very tricky thing because they have the right to the name, but they don't have the right to the design. It's a weird situation. So it's one of those things you definitely have to look into your legalities and whatnot and make sure if you are going to sell things that you're doing it legally. But again, it is for your personal use. There is no legality rights at all. You can make whatever you want and keep whatever you want. It's nothing that they're going to hit you with that, oh my gosh, you made a Spider-Man, you can't do that. No, you can
Yeah, I can.
absolutely do that. You can absolutely do that. It's when you sell it that it becomes much more of a gray area.
Okay. So then do you have a for those getting into it,
Yes.
do you have a site that you use to buy like already like the models?
So there's several sites to use in that. Thingiverse is actually going to be your friend in this because they're all free. It's a completely free site. Anything on there you can download and immediately go and make on your
Okay.
3D printer, and there's no charge.
Hey.
If you do want a specific buy, like for instance, that Venusaur setup, I bought that right with about 8 other prints with it.
Okay.
That was about $8 for me total. I went to a site called Colts for it. So it's CULTS.
And all these, for those listening and watching, all of these sites, the Ender printer and the models, I'll make sure to keep that in the description.
Yes.
So if you want to check it out.
Yep. It's all definitely there. And you can buy a ton of stuff from there. Thangs is another one, not things, but Thangs. It's with an A instead of an I. Thangs. So that's there. And they are definite sites to use to buy prints. Another one's actually called Game Boy. It sound as weird as that is. Yeah, it's Game Boy. Just type in basically Game Boy STLs. That's the file type is an STL, and it'll pop up. They're more expensive. For instance, you had seen the Diablo print that I had made. I don't have it sitting here, so I can't just show that. That
print, take my word for it, it's phenomenal.
Appreciate it. That one there costs about $25 to buy the right to. So it depends on what you again want to pay for. But at that point, it's yours. It doesn't go away. You paid for it, you keep it. So that is the cool thing. You can download it wherever you want. It's in your save files. So everything can go for more or less. How much do you want to spend and what are you looking to do? So those are the two sites I would recommend for paying is Thangs and Colts. And then Thingiverse for just to get your feet wet before you pay for anything. See what you want to make on there. And there's a ton of, I mean, there's probably 10,000 different prints that you can go for.
Now, I'm sure that it does, but do you do you use a separate program for the prints themselves to actually tell the 3D printer, hey, print this? I'm sure they come with software to
So
install on your
yes,
computer, but is there, since you have said that you have multiple different models,
yes,
is there one that does all?
no.
Okay.
So for FDM printing, I use Cura.
Okay.
That's its Cura, Cura.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Creality Ender 3's model, but you can use different printer types on that model. So
Okay.
if you have, I'm going to name a few. Tronex is one. We call it Tronxies, but that's beside the point. Perusa is another type of brand. Anycubic,
Okay.
Elegoo, all of those types of printers you can use on Cura.
Okay.
So that's good to know on that end of things. Like you don't have to relearn 3 different or 4 different types of software.
Mm-hmm.
Once you find the one you like, and don't get me wrong, Perusa has a slicer, works very, very well. Very nice setup. Um, Tronex has one, Elegoo has one. They all have their own
Mm-hmm.
slicing units. But to me, Cura is personally, I can set it up the best for what I want my prints to look like.
Okay.
So I do use Perusa in a few different ones. I don't use Tronex very much at all. Actually, I think I used it once and didn't like it. But again, that's not a knock on it. It's just not my cup of tea. Like I said, you find what you like, and you normally tend to stick with that path because your printers are set up really well on them. Once you have them dialed in the way you want them and got the settings tweaked the way you want them, the prints turn out flawless. Pretty
Okay.
much. I mean, and I'll get up in a couple of seconds and show you something I just printed this morning. So that way you can see I'm not crazy, and I actually still got some supports on it and everything else. So you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of see. But yeah, it came off of a Cura slicer.
So
Now, go ahead.
I was gonna say, does Cura play nice with the other?
Yes.
Okay, because I
Yes,
know
it
that
plays nice.
sometimes I know sometimes with some applications for certain
Mm-hmm.
things they'll work,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes they're like
Yeah,
siblings. Yeah,
right.
they play nice sometimes, but they do have their tendency to fight.
That's true. The only thing you have to watch for when you like, just say you have a Perusa printer and you go on Cura to use your slicer. The
Mm-hmm.
only thing that you want to monitor, especially if you're going to get into selling stuff,
Mm-hmm.
is the time of it
Okay.
and how much filament it uses. Because it's not a Creality printer, it
Mm-hmm.
might vary. So for
Okay.
instance, my Tronex, I normally have to calculate about another hour to 2 hours extra. So if it says 5 hours, it's between 6 to 7.
Okay.
So if it says the usage, it's normally about another 15 to 20 grams.
Okay.
So you can kind of see the differences, but I know that now with that printer. So
Yeah.
when you have a Perusa printer or a Tronex, whatever, just monitor the time, make sure it adds up to what it says, and then consistently watch that to see if it's being consistent.
Okay.
And like I said, it can vary a little bit on that. So for your price points, you want to make sure that you're being accurate to it instead of, well, it says 6 hours, but it took me 9.5. Like
Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure that for you to consistently make your profit margins, that you're making sure that you're monitoring your time and filament usage correctly.
So then talking about filament,
Yes.
I know we've talked about the best, easiest to not best, easiest to understand and get started with printer. We've
Yes.
talked about where to get the models themselves. We've talked about the program to use.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you get your filament?
Sure. I actually, well, if I was smarter than I am, I would actually have a business account with certain types.
Okay.
So I use Hatchbox pretty much exclusively.
Okay.
It is the filament brand that's trusted the most. I've never had an issue with the filament, so it's never come in, disformed or non-working.
Okay.
Very, very smooth. I do actually order it from Amazon. I don't have to go right to their website. So
Okay.
they're basically, Amazon is your best friend for filament, because you
Okay.
can literally go and type in FDM filament and it'll pop up 1,000 different brands.
Hey.
So It's kind of up to you. There are a lot. Now that's $25 a roll. It's not cheap. It costs a lot of money.
Okay.
But you can get cheaper brands. You can get some that as little as $9 or $10 a roll.
Okay.
And they will drop pricing. So even Hatchbox will go down to $17.99 or $18.99 or $20. Like it will drop. It's just depending when you pick your battles. But if I was smart, like I said, recommendation, go to hatchbox.com, sign up for a business account, and you get percentage off per roll. But they do want you to buy bulk orders. So probably 10 rolls or more. So you're looking at probably $200.
Okay.
But you're gonna have 10 rolls. So
now, I was gonna say, just to put it in perspective, one roll can print off, like if we're talking your Hulk Buster.
He's an unfair advantage.
All right, well then, any of the
if,
ones that you showed, like the dragon. Let's go with the dragon that you showed. In one roll, how many of those dragons do you think that you could print off? Just to give the people watching,
sure,
an idea.
I'm going to say between 15 and 20. Probably.
Okay, so a decent amount.
Yep. They definitely will be a pretty good amount. And it could be more than that. Like I said, I don't have the exact amount figured in, but to use it in a perspective, I believe for 2 of them, it's about 100 grams. Okay. And you get 1,000, you get a kilogram of filament.
Okay.
So in that particular, that's why I'm saying about 20. So you use about 100 grams to make 2. So that'll give you, like I said, about a 20 roughly amount that you can make.
So that's a decent amount. So I mean, buying it on Amazon, it would be a great. So would you? I guess as somebody who doesn't 3D print, in my mind, just thinking about this, it would seem like it'd be better to buy the individual rolls on Amazon, test what I want to print out, then go create that business account, figure out, I need this much because I want to do this, and this.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing with it is, if you're not looking to make a business out of it, right? You just want it to be a hobby. That's the difference between things. Like a business person that I don't personally know him, but I have talked with him through Messenger and a few other things, and I won't give his name out for security reasons. But,
I appreciate
it. He will buy 20 rolls in bulk because he uses that much, because he prints that much for customers.
Okay.
So when you look at that, he's placing an order every month of 20 rolls. So he's using a ton of filament in a day. I mean, he probably has 15 to 20 printers, and they're going all day long. So he's got what we call a print farm. He's a printer, he's a maker, he does this for customers daily. He ships out, probably has a small warehouse at this point. And he has these items just busting out. If a machine goes down, not a problem. He takes it off to the side. Another one's already up and running, making that print. So my point of it is he's made a business out of this. It's no longer a hobby. But if you're just wanting some pretty cool, hey, I made this, or hey, this is awesome to me, and I just want to keep it a hobby, definitely, getting a roll or 2 from Amazon. Maybe it's a fun color, like you're doing, like, oh, I want a neon green, just because it'd be cool. They have that. You can definitely get those options. And it's more fun to do stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I've bought in rolls that are tricolor or rainbow colors. Okay. Literally, they're fun ones, and they do sell quite well. I'll let you know, because they're fun. People like color. They like design, just different uniqueness. So it is a cool thing. But I would probably stick with Amazon, or even if you go to Hatchbox, that's fine. I'm not going to and they're not paying me, by the way, to say Hatchbox.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Right. Definitely not sponsored. But they are, you can definitely go to their site, and it's the same price as Amazon. So it's just where you want to give your business to. Most people have an Amazon Prime account nowadays. So that's why it's just easier for shipping costs. So that's why I use it as my promotion, I guess, if you're going to call it that. But that would be what I would do exactly. I would, if it's a hobby, get your Ender 3 or whatever printer you choose, buy a roll of filament. Normally it comes with a test amount of filament. So you'll get a small spool, which will probably make you, to use the same dragon method, you'll probably be able to make 2 to 3 of them with that small test roll.
Okay.
But the filament's kind of crappy. I'm not gonna lie. So
well, that's because they specialize in the printing, not the materials.
Yeah, they like to say that they specialize in all those. So, but yeah, I would get yourself a roll of something that you want to make color wise, or just plain white or black, and enjoy that.
Okay. Well, so these are all great points for beginners, those that are looking into getting into printing. So where are you at now?
Sure.
Like, so you said about your first one, your first printer that you got, and how tips for people to start out with. How many printers do you have now? Not counting resin, just 3D.
Sure, just 3D filament. I have 5.
You have 5 printers. Okay.
I have 5
now,
printers.
how many resin printers?
4.
4. So you have 9 printers total.
9 printers total.
Okay. All right. I mean, hey, that's solid. Okay.
It is. I'll be honest with you. I enjoy FDM printing, regular 3D printing, but I prefer resin. The quality is there for me.
It looks like gel.
It does. And not only that, but it just looks better for me. Like the quality is unmatched.
I think in my opinion, I agree with you. Seeing the two, it's because it doesn't look like it has a mold. It doesn't look like it has the lines that you can.
Right.
No, don't get me wrong. Some of your prints, some of your 3D prints, your FDM.
Yes, FDM
prints. Some of your FDM prints, they're smooth. They're smooth. Now, with just to circle back to my Warhammer 40K army. So for those that are listening and are into Warhammer 40K, I run a Space Wolves army. That's Space Marines. It's a chapter of the Space Marines, but they're their own chapter. So it's the Space Wolves. Because Space Marines has so many chapters. But anyways, when you get those, they're printed with the mold with the supports already.
Yes.
So similar to what you have, they have the supports already. You have to clip them out of the mold, out of the support, and then you have to glue them together. It takes time doing all of that. You have to use a file and file down the little plastic till it's smooth. And then sometimes you have to file down around where that was just to make it look like it is smooth. Don't get me wrong. It looks phenomenal when you do it, but it's such a pain. It is such a pain. And it looks like the resin printers don't have that.
No, they do have supports, but you will never see those because I take them off for you. That's just the way I do it. I actually made it's a buddy of mine, so it's not money transaction.
Yeah.
But he wanted some Warhammer figurines made up, so I made some. Again, the quality of resin printing is just better. It just is. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with FDMs. They are great. They work awesome. I mean, I can't make a dragon look that easy on a resin printer. It doesn't. It takes a lot more effort to make that work the same. But regardless of that, yes, the quality is there. The support side of things, you'll get little peg marks from the supports. Don't get me wrong, they will exist on the printer or print, itself. But normally that is underneath, not what you're looking at. So you would have to tip it up and be like, oh yeah, there's what it looks like. Right. And you don't have to, if you don't do that, you'll be completely like it doesn't exist. And as you see, my roommate's having some fun. So he walks back and forth. But yep, for anybody who will watch the video, that'll be, you'll get a little bit of Dapper in there. But
oh, Dapper.
Yes, yep. But anyways, the resin printing is just it's a lot more time. I will admit you are a lot more time dedication to resin printing.
Okay.
And please, for anybody that is thinking of getting into it, buy yourself a full mask. You do gain an allergic reaction to this.
Okay.
After time. So your eyes can swell and completely shut from it if you don't take precautions. Wear gloves, wear protection for yourself so it doesn't get on your skin as much as possible. Don't freak out if it does. It's not toxic. It's not going to kill you by any measure, but just understand that there are a lot of risks that can involve your health. So please be cautious on what you're doing with that. I have a full respirator mask. I wear gloves every time I touch a print. I don't mess with it. Now, once it's treated, like you've seen that Venusaur and Bulbasaur and Ivysaur setup, that is completely fine to touch. Hands, put it up to your mouth. It ain't gonna matter. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. You could chew on it and it ain't gonna matter.
Okay.
But once it's treated, it's fine. You use UV light for it. It's completely safe. But you have to do the proper procedures in that. So I encourage people who are going to start printing. And if you're not looking for it as anything more than a hobby, start with an FDM to see if you enjoy the methods. And then if you want to go down the resin track, again, do your research and pay attention. I actually started that. My coworker did not do resin printing before I did. I started that. I learned that on my own. Went through a lot of research, understanding the fact that, you know, it's dangerous, buy the proper gear, precautions, all that kind of stuff. So I had bought all that, made sure I was safe. And he actually got into it because of me. So like I said, we go off of each other and learn too. So like I said,
That's awesome.
It is definitely a thing though. So be cautious if you're going to go down that route. But like I said, I do prefer it. To me, the prints turn out better. And like I said, I've got 2 things right now that are getting done. I actually made some Gengars up that are pretty cool. So like I said, those are one, and I actually have a Venom bust that I just did.
Oof.
So yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it is very cool. Like I said, to me, it is definitely more quality in that aspect, but it also is a lot more time consuming. Like I said, there's probably for cleanup, every print you do is minimum of an hour. Probably. And that is you physically doing things. Like on an FDM printer, it goes, it does its thing, and then when it's done, all you got to do is take off supports. Doesn't take very long to do that. But there's a process with resin. So you want to make sure that you understand that your time is going to be involved more in the resin side of things than in the FDM. So you physically will have to do more in resin.
See, it sounds so, as I'm sure the viewers and listeners know, I make mead. I can associate this very similar. So 3D printing, the FDM printing, is like making mead. You put everything you need into it, you put the airlock on, you set it aside.
Correct.
The most you have to do is rack it over into another one and then bottle it. Similar to 3D printing. You have to get it set up and get it going, but once it's going, it does its thing. You don't have to touch it again until the print is done. You scrape it off the tray and remove the supports.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then you have brewing beer.
Yes.
Brewing beer is very hands-on from the start to the finish. You have to be watching it.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to fail. And
so I'm assuming that that's very similar to.
Yes. And you definitely nailed it for sure. You can transition that correctly. And like I said, there's a lot more accidents that happen in resin printing. Because the supports are easy to get off, but there's always a but. But you end up breaking things because they're so tiny. So there is a lot more failed attempts at learning the process correctly. And there's also thicknesses of the supports. So you don't want to use large supports on a tiny print. You want to use light supports on a tiny print because, you know, making something like this Minotaur, right? If I've got giant supports on it, where this little hammer is right here, and I know you can't really see it too well, but there's a little hammer point. It'll put a support right on that end. And if it's heavy, you're going to end up ripping that hammer off. So you want to make a small one so that way it has something to build off of, but it still rips off easy. Hot water is your best friend in resin printing. Boil it. And I do mean boil it. Boil the water, let your print sit in there until you can physically touch it, and those supports will just peel off. That's a fun fact of a pro tip. Exactly. It is one of those things that I learned from research on that, but it works beautifully. It takes them right off. It actually helps with the bumping as well. I don't boil my water. I just run my hot water on my faucet. I leave the prints in there for about 5 minutes and just peel off the supports.
Okay. So I have a two-part question, because it's kind of, they're very, very close in what I'm about to ask, but they are different.
Sure.
Okay. So what is your favorite print so far? And what is the favorite print for you?
Favorite print I've ever made, and my favorite print for me, right? That's
Correct.
the question. Okay.
One that you've done that is your favorite, that you don't own, that you've given to someone or gifted to someone or sold. Sure. And then what is your favorite thing that you've printed for yourself?
So myself is that Diablo bust. There's not even a question. That was my favorite print for myself.
Okay.
Is it for sale? Somebody could probably twist my arm and buy it, but it's not cheap. So like I said, that actually took me in total for myself about 27 hours.
Oh my God.
It's in 28 pieces. It's all gluing method. You let it sit for an hour, you come back to it, then you put another piece on. So it took me a lot of time. So, but it was really worth it. Really worth the fact that it worked out really well. So that is probably my favorite that I've actually for myself.
Okay.
My favorite. All right. My least favorite and favorite print at the same time. All right. So was I made a Predator bust for Snap. It was my favorite print by looking at it, because I think
those listening and watching, I laugh and clap because I've seen this in person. I've been there for the issues and the tweaks and all the little pieces.
Yep. To give the viewers that don't know an idea, it's a beautiful bust. It's a Predator standing tall, his mouth open, no mask, just a really cool looking bust with his blades extruding out, like his blades are out. And the blades, they did not like me. They hated me. The first one broke instantly. It literally just broke off as I was taking supports off. I was able to glue it, made it look really unnoticeable. I thought pretty unnoticeable. And the first thing that the customer did, which is Snap in this case, a buddy,
Snap
like
Decks.
I said. Snap Decks.
Again, those listening and watching, we've done an episode of a podcast with him.
Yep.
I'll leave a link in the description.
Yep. First thing he did is, how are these blades? And literally snapped one. Literally. He moved it back and forth. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I took it right back, glued it back together. They, like I said, ended up not liking me, but it was my favorite looking print, and it was very, very nicely done. So to answer your question, that's the 2-prong question. So, but you had asked, and I don't think I ever really covered. You asked where I'm at personally. You wanted to know 9 printers, right?
Yes.
Like,
sorry.
I know. We went down a rabbit hole. It happens. So where I'm currently at is, I do have my own business. I actually just got a DBA for it yesterday.
Yes.
So, yep. So I am legalized, able to sell things without any hiccups, and have a, whole, what do they call that? Oh my gosh, Social Security number and everything linked. So we're good. Yep. All that kind of stuff. So it's Nano 3D Printing Co. is what it's called.
Links in the description.
Appreciate it. So yeah, please check it out if you have some time. Not trying to self-promote, but that's where I'm currently at.
I'm trying to promote them.
I legitimately appreciate you. I legitimately am selling things. By custom design, rather you want something custom made, definitely can do that. Kind of just give me what you're looking for. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I took it from a hobby, and now I want to make it a business. So that's currently where I am at. I've been doing flea markets, shows, lots of different stuff of that nature. Definitely promoting on Etsy.
You had a cool one. So real quick about the shows, you had a cool one at GameStop.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
My local GameStop here in Lapeer, Michigan, the manager Noel there, I know him quite well at this point. So I talked with him. They were doing a Street Fighter tournament. So he had asked if I'd be willing to donate figurines to it. So I said, yeah, I'd be more than happy to make some prints up. So I made some little Street Fighter figurines for him, probably about 6 of them. And
please tell me there was a Blanca in there.
There was no Blanca.
Oh,
I know. No, he didn't want Blanca. He wanted, what's her name?
Chun-Li?
Chun-Li was there.
I used to play Street Fighter a lot.
Cammy was there.
Okay.
And I
Zangief?
can't remember. Yes.
Yes, my favorite Russian.
Yep. He was there. Yeah, yep. So that was all there.
Okay.
So like I said, 6 different ones. And I went to the tournament, did not participate in it. I'm not a Street Fighter guy. Didn't even know who the characters were really that I was printing. So I did find them though, did do that and printed them out for them, and turned out really well. I didn't get any business from it, but it wasn't about that for me. It was about promoting not only my business, but promoting his event. I like GameStop. I like what they offer fans of, video games and being able to do. So don't always agree with their business tactics, but
Hate
but
the larger company, not the local.
Correct. So like I said, they actually just did a Mario Kart tournament too, which was very cool. Very cool. I took 4th. I actually did participate in that.
Hey,
I took 4th. A little kid beat us all. So just so you know, shout out to him.
They have all the time. They have all the time in the world.
Shout out to him. He dominated like everything, which was great. I mean, I just sat there and was like, hey, whatever. I don't care. I was there for the fun of it and I had fun. So, but yeah, it was a very cool thing to be a part of, and definitely would do it again for sure.
So you have a business now, an actual business.
Correct.
And again, links will be in the description. Bro, your stuff is just top notch. Like I've seen, because like it's weird to see the evolution, right? The transformation of what 3D printing used to be to what it is now. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, again, you would have a better understanding of it than I would, but resin printing now is kind of sort of where 3D printing was in the beginning.
Yes.
Like, don't get me wrong, it's still really good quality, but not a lot of people know about it. It's kind of expensive. It's really hard to get into.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of people don't know about 3D printing. They've heard about it, but they don't understand what the process of that is. And this isn't a knock on anybody, because I know I want things as cheap as possible. So, but when you get somebody like, I'm going to be real with anybody who'd be listening and interested in anything, understand custom work, just like in an artist or in carpentry or in anything that you can, a house, for instance, nothing's cheap in that. Like if you came to me and was like, hey, I want that Venusaur, and I know copywriting, but I'm just using that as an example. That Venusaur to be standing on his hind legs. I want vines coming out of him, and I want him to be, around a Pikachu, like he's, vine whipping a Pikachu type of deal. Okay. That doesn't exist. I have to get that designed. That costs money.
Yep. You're paying somebody to design it.
Correct. And even if it was me, designers per hour, some charge up to $40 an hour. So if it takes them 10 hours, it's $400 for that design. So you've got to understand, custom work, just like in anything else, costs money. So I just want,
and that's just to break even. That's just to break even.
Right. And me, you're going to come, if I tell you it's going to cost you $550,
oh, well, that's way too expensive. Come on now.
Exactly. Right. But you got to understand.
I'm sure somebody could print that for less than half the price.
Yeah, if they can make it. And that's the thing. Like I said, I am trying to diversify into learning design. So that will
that's a challenge and a half.
It is. And that will cut some costs down on people, because especially as I get quicker at it, I can charge less. So I'm all about, I don't want you guys, anybody that would purchase anything from me or anybody, I want a good quality product for affordable pricing. That dragon that you see, I sell for $10. I make, just so everybody's aware, I make $3
Full
on that.
disclosure.
Yep. I
$3.
make $3.
Okay.
Now, some I make more on, some I make less on, but I don't want the price point to go past that because I don't feel like that's fair to you. So now I could charge you 15.
I was going to say, for something like that, you could easily charge $20 and people would eat it up.
I know, but I'm not that guy.
I know. You and I are similar in that aspect. I'm not going to screw you over.
Exactly. I make enough that, using an example, if I make 20 of those, I make $60.
Hey,
it's not a lot of money, but
that's one whole spool. That's one, like you said earlier, that's one whole spool of printing just that. You make $60 on it.
Correct. I make $60 profit. Now, I mean, total, I'm selling 20 of them, so it's 200, but I got to put 140 back into my time and material. So I'm only making $60 in profit. But my point is, I try to keep things affordable for people. So when I'm telling you a price point, I promise you now, I'm not trying to screw you over and charge you arms and legs on things. It's what it's costing me and my time.
With a little bit extra.
With a little bit of extra. I got to be able to make money if I'm going to make it a business. I mean,
exactly.
Businesses aren't charities. I wish they were, but they're not. So if people want me to continue to do things, I still have to make it worth my time. So like I said, $3 to $5 profit margins, I'm pretty happy with. Like I said, I don't try to, and if I can make it quicker and easier on my end, that's great. That just means that I'm able to make a little bit more money, but I can keep the price points where they're at. And that's where I'm always trying to improve myself, but I don't ever want to increase pricing. When I tell you a pricing, it's what the price is. I don't plan on going up with it. I don't plan on changing it. You want something different? That's a different ballgame. Like I said, you want something custom. I have a customer right now that I'm making prints for currently, and she would like this to be in 13 pieces. It's fine. It's not a problem. But it takes more of my time. I told her a price point of it in a 1 print, not 13. And I had to change that because of what she wanted. So now, again, I'm fair. I only charged her $5 more. It's not like I increased it by a lot. Technically, I'm losing on that. But again, I don't like telling people something different than what I tell you. So it covered, just to give everybody an FYI, it covers my electricity change. That's what it covers. The $5 covers my electricity. So it's the exact same amount of filament, exact same amount of everything, but because of the more running of machine time, I had to increase based off the electricity. So that's, everything factors in. So where I'm at currently is it is a business. It is being treated as a business. And that's what I am looking to promote further.
Awesome. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Well, actually 2. I'll say them both, and then you can answer it in whatever order.
All right.
1, can you incorporate lighting into a print? And 2, have you thought about doing fabrication? So as an example, instead of like models like that, 3D printing parts, like for, I don't know, I want a sprinkler head.
Sure.
I want a sprinkler head for my lawn. Can you 3D print? Can you fabricate parts for equipment?
So I'll answer that one first, because it's yes, absolutely can. It is a design feature. So for instance, you bring me in what you need dimensionally wise, I can have that designed. Absolutely. So yes, absolutely can be done. Stuff like that, just to give people an idea, is cheaper normally, because they're not normally figurine busts and different things of that nature. If you needed a sprinkler head made because a part of it broke and you needed a piece made, it'll probably take about 15 minutes for a designer. It'll take me about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the size, because it's basic. It's just a thing that you need threads put in, or, because you're going to screw it back in place.
Yeah.
So if you need the threads put into it, designer can do that in 10-15 minutes, make it a basic part. For me, it prints that thread already in there and your bolt will go right in. So
Okay.
that'll take me 10-15 minutes. I can probably have it slapped in and out for about $15. So, but keep in mind, if it ever breaks again, that design's already made. I'm not charging you 15, I'm charging you 5, but the designer cost me 10.
Yeah.
So it's a one-time $10 fee, and any additional parts you want's $5.
Okay.
So now, but it's yours. You have rights to that. That's how my designer works. I have the rights to that print at that point.
Okay.
So if you pay me and you say, hey, if I need more of these, because let's just say you're a business for small parts.
Mhm.
Hey, I want this made, but I want the rights to that. That is your right. It's yours exclusively. I cannot sell that to somebody else. That is
Okay.
your right to that print. So if you ask for that design print, that's yours. And I can just bust out 20 or 30 of them at a time for you.
Okay.
And those are yours to do and sell as you wish.
Now, have you done that before?
I have made a couple of things, not designed wise, but I have made, let me rephrase. They were designed specifically for that, but they did not ask for the design rights.
Okay.
So it was a one-off thing. I have made a couple of those with help from people.
Okay.
And I do have the exclusive rights to them. So I can sell them wherever I want. But let's just be honest, nobody wants a mower blade screw head. So it's not like it's a whole bunch of money involved. But that, to answer your first, yes. The second question, yes, you can incorporate lights. Magnets work really well. LEDs work really well. USB hookups work really well with this kind of stuff. Personally, don't do a lot of that because it's a lot of thinking and a lot of effort. And the thing with that is I've learned that people like to customize themselves. They like to be able to, that's why another thing, some people would, if I'm going to Comic-Con, would love it painted.
Yeah.
Absolutely. However, some people would like to do that themselves.
Yeah.
And I feel like the option's always good to have if somebody wants it painted. It just costs more.
Yeah.
I have somebody that can paint for me. Just so you know, I do have somebody who can paint something if somebody wants it, but you're looking at another $40 to $100. So
that's because the paint to do it, the painter's time to do it.
Yep. So everything, like I said, costs. If you want to do it yourself, though, that's where the price point. That's why I keep it where I do. Everybody has options. Like you can, if you want a chessboard, just so you know, a chessboard full LED, I can make that. Okay. Full LED. I can make either your game pieces, like let's just say you want a Pokemon game set, chess game set. You can have that in resin. I can print that for you.
Mew on one side, Mewtwo on the other side.
Totally can.
Oh.
And it, just so you know, it's not a copyright thing on that particular situation because I'm not selling a figurine. I'm not even technically selling a likeness because I'm making a chess set. If you look at the corporation of Pokemon, like I said, you got to do research. They don't make, the company itself does not make a Pokemon chess set. So I am in no copyright infringements. So I'm just, as you can tell, I've looked into this. So
no. You started a business and you looked into things. What?
Yeah, right. So, but again, full LED can clear coat it, can make it, and where every piece of that, as you move it, there's an LED light. It lights up as you move the piece.
Ooh. So, okay. Like in my head, I'm thinking like you have a great idea with that. I was thinking like,
for those of us streamers out there,
my logo or my username with lights behind it, 3D printed that I can mount on the wall.
Yep, you can. And the cool thing about that too, I know you do a lot of color changing lights. You can.
What?
Yep. You can do that in that.
Okay.
You can compute. I mean, it's completely plausible. It's just how much do you want to pay? That's what it boils down to. I mean, everything has, like I said, I'm fair with everybody. Everything has a cost. So I can get you whatever you want. How much do you want to pay for it? But honestly, for what you're talking about, I would like to make a lithogram for you. The reason I say that, you take your logo, Paco Taco Stand, and you give me that. I make it into a circle. I probably make this in a square piece. Okay. And then around the circle, right, is going to be your face and design. And then when you put it, then when you put it up to light, rather it's behind it or however you do it, your face will literally light up. It will show Paco, it'll show the taco, it'll show everything behind it. So all of that is completely doable, and I don't have to make the lights for you. You can choose what you want to do with it.
Okay.
That way, if you want to make, you want green lights for your hat, you can do that yourself how you wish to.
That is smart. That is smart.
Yep, but I'm not doing it on that sense. I'm letting you have that design, but your lithogram will do as you want.
Okay. See, that's smart. I like that. So for those listening, any streamers, any gamers, anybody who wants something cool like that, just keep that in mind. It is doable.
It is doable. All of that is completely possible. It just depends on what you want. And lithograms, just so you know, it seems like they're complicated. They're actually not that hard to make. So they're pretty easy. I normally can do those pretty budget friendly. So, and I normally make them out of white filament. So,
okay.
Just so you know, they are out of white, and the reason for that is because that lights the best in the background.
Oh yeah.
But again, you can customize that
the
lighting.
Come in.
Exactly. You can customize your lighting to do as you wish. So
okay.
Yep.
So we've covered how you started.
Yes.
We covered where you're at now. Where are you going? Where are you going?
Where am I going? Well, everybody likes to stay at the top.
So like we kind of sort of talked about it. You said about how you want to go to San Diego.
Yes.
So like right now in this moment, you said you just got it as an official business and everything. What things are you most excited about in the immediate future and the long-term future? Things that you know that you already have planned out, ready to go, that are coming in, like in the pipe works.
Sure. So, well, the immediate thing that I'm super excited for is there's a small town not too far from me. I shouldn't say small, it's mid-sized town, roughly. They're actually doing a Comic-Con, and I'm actually signed up to do that. So that's the short-term fun thing. So I'm making different prints and such of that nature to correlate with that for selling purposes. And that's one of the small short-term things. I'm really excited because the business online, not a whole lot of followers yet, don't get me wrong, but I've grown from about 25 to 50 in about 3 days.
Hey, there we go.
So it's different things of advertising that I've done differently. So definitely promotion is a big key for me right now, is promoting it, trying to get more customer base. So those are kind of the short-term things that I'm working towards.
Okay.
And I'm excited about, because of course it just grew quite a bit. So I can't complain.
Yeah.
That's the excitement. The long-term stuff is definitely it's an international thing for me.
Okay.
That's the long-term goal. I would like my prints to be able to go worldwide. Rather it's for, somebody in Japan or Australia, or just, in the US, wherever it goes. I would like people to be able, especially young adults, to be able to have something that's affordable that they are happy with.
Okay.
And rather that's, like I said, I got to be careful on infringement rights, but if you wanted a Batman bust and you go to a store and it's $100, but if I can make it for you legally, and I only got to charge you 30, that to me, you're happy with it, and you get to look up and be like, it didn't cost me an arm and a leg to buy that. And I know as young adults, there's not a whole lot of money that come into that. So I want to make sure that it's affordable for you, but it's a really good product that you're happy with. So ultimately the goal would be keeping my price points to a fair price, being international, having a business where, I can have 3 or 4 people hired. I don't need a huge amount of people with this because of the way that it works, but being able to hire 3 or 4 people, give them really good jobs, help change their families' lives, give them proceeds for it. I'd actually like to do a profit sharing down the road with that. So I have big plans and big dreams, big goals, but if it never happens, just so that, not that I'm not expecting it to, but if it never happened and I could just be able to put smiles on people's faces and be able to make some income on a side income, that would still be an honor to be able to fulfill for people to
Okay.
be able. So like I said, big goals, big dreams, and that's the plan. But if it never turned out to be that, but I still was able to make people feel good about what they received from me, and that would be still an honor to be able
That's
to do.
awesome. That's awesome. uh Along the lines of future, what is one print that you would love to do? That like right now you might not be able to size-wise or
Right.
production-wise. What is
I
one
got
thing?
you. I got you. A life-size, full-size Master Chief in 100% full scale. That would be 6 foot tall. That would be the ultimate goal. That would just be really cool, and that would just be for me. It just would sit in a man cave and never move. But
You
yes,
see the
that
thing
would
over
be
there? Yeah, I did that.
exactly.
I did that.
Exactly. That would be the epitome of how I've arrived type of deal. So it would definitely be a lot of work and a lot of effort, but yeah, that would be what I would ultimately would love to make.
Now, thinking about that and planning that, do they make 3D printers that size?
No, but what you can do is break down the pieces to fit and glue into place that way.
Okay.
And so
can you design it with like pegs?
Yep.
So like, for example, a lot of wood structures that you put together, they have a peg and a hole, and you fit it in and glue.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah, just like that. just like that.
Yes, to not be weird. Yes. The answer to that question is you can design them to have a peg placement.
Okay.
For instance, and I don't think I can get close enough, but this Venusaur here has pegs in each 4 slots. So when it goes in, and I haven't glued it yet because I wanted to wait for after this particular meeting, you will actually see the holes. So it is designed in. It is designed in to do that.
See?
So yes.
See? I might not know 3D printing, but
yes.
I've had enough life experience to bring other aspects in.
Oh, exactly. So no, it is definitely a thing that you do. So yes, you can design that. I don't personally know them, but I have seen designs of exactly what I'm talking about, which is why I was like fell in love with the design of Master Chief. So yes, they do have those. There are people who have made them. But one thing that also would be cool on that nature, sorry, I'm just putting my Bulbasaur back in
you're good.
Correct placement. They're actually, it's all 3D printed, and it is, I believe, a Steelers gentleman. They made a full Iron Man suit that is fully functional,
wearable,
and they wear it to the games. And it is a Steelers complete Iron Man, and they wear it. So just so you know, that is all. You can look it up. Look on YouTube. It is a thing.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this.
I believe it's Steelers. Like I said, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty positive it was Steelers. Not wrong. Right? Yeah, it's a thing. All 3D printed, customed for the individual.
I'm gonna share my screen for those watching the video. We're looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at this.
Yep. Told you.
Oh, that's a Pirates?
That's a Pirates, but if you look,
I'm sure it's interchangeable.
Well, yep, it is. There
what?
It is. Told you. It's a thing. It is a thing, and there is a YouTube on it. Just so you guys are aware, you can actually watch the YouTube video of that individual.
Oh my goodness. That's the person?
That's the person.
What?
Yep. Mind blown a little bit.
I didn't even know this was a thing.
It is. See? Told you. 3D printing has come a long ways, and that is all like I said, all done off of 3D printers. So, and like I said, those are not huge ones. Those are the sizes I have. They took time, they took effort, they made a design, and they made it fully functional. Yep.
That is nuts.
Yep.
I've never heard of this.
like I said, 3D printing is kind of a really big kept secret. People don't, you don't know what you can do until you actually see things. And that's why I said, if you have something in mind, it's possible. It's just how much time and effort and money do you want to put into it? Because that I'm sure was not cheap. I'm sure they went through, if I'm guessing based off of a full, oh, for sure. I'm assuming rolls of filament. They probably have, even if they got it in bulk, they probably have about $500 to $600 just in filament. Then they've got to sand all of that, gloss it, paint it, design it, fully functional. That mask it fully is automated. It opens and closes on its own. There's buttons, so there's wiring and everything in this.
For those listening on the podcast, I will definitely make sure to share the YouTube video of this on what we're watching. But like, what?
Yep.
I need it.
Yep. It's mind blowing, like I said, on things like this. So
that is nuts.
Yep, I've seen somebody with a full Wolverine outfit before. Like I said, there's a lot you can do with this, and I actually don't think I can pull it up in time. Maybe I can. I actually did make a suit of armor for somebody.
Hey,
let me see if I can. Whoops, sorry about that. Somebody apparently texted me. Let me see if
again, for those listening, I'll make sure to we'll find a way for you to see it.
Yes. Yes, please do. I'll see if I can get it there. I won't so everything but the actual Mandalorian helmet was designed by me.
That is beautiful.
Yep. Now I didn't paint it. Again, I like to let people do as they wish to it. So like I said, that, and I could have made the helmet too, just so you know, but he already had one. Okay. So everything else though that you see there, including the like, other than the gloves, pants, but every piece of the armor was mine made. So like I said, I can do stuff like it too. It's just how much do you want to spend? It's what it boils down to. And that cost him, just to give everybody an FYI, $100 for my stuff. Hey, so like I said, it's not that bad at all. Yep. And it's not, like I said, a copyright thing. Again, gotta be careful. I didn't sell the copyright. He designed the outfit to be Mandalorian. I did not do I want to make sure for legality purposes that everybody knows.
Hey, all you lawyers, listen up.
Right, exactly. All I did was print armor set. I did not make it Mandalorian. I did not do the designs of the Mandalorian. That is all him customizing that. So
yeah, you go after him.
No, he doesn't have to go after him.
I'm kidding.
I know. But he made it for himself. He didn't sell it. He's not repurposing it. He bought the armor plates from me and designed it himself. So that's completely legal. There's nothing against copyrights. Like I said, it's
touches,
exactly what it is. Like I said, so it's all of that kind of stuff that, like I said, it's an awesome experience. Anybody who is wanting to get into it, please feel free to ask me questions. I am not opposed to answering and just talking with you. And we want more makers. We want more 3D makers. Why? Because we learn from you and you learn from us. And the more that we can learn together and grow as a community instead of trying to do this ourselves, the more everybody gains in it. You know, we want to be able to bring up people to, it's not about competition for me. I would want to learn how to design. Somebody who knows how to do that, I need to learn from. Like I said, so if you need some tips and tricks of how to get your printer to work perfectly, that's where I might be able to help you. So like I said, there's give and takes to everything with this. And it's, like I said, it's an awesome experience. I definitely encourage people to, if nothing else, get one for a hobby. They're fun to be able to make your own things. And, you know, it's a cool thing when you take a print and it gets completed and you clean it up and make it look nice and do what you're going to do with it. You made that. It's a cool feeling to, I know the machine makes it, but you designed it to work perfectly. And it turns out just like you had it planned. All of that makes you feel, I don't know, it's kind of a weird feeling, but it makes you feel like I can do anything in the world. And
I feel that.
Yeah, it's an unreal feeling, and I encourage people to be able to do that.
I haven't 3D printed, but I feel that with making mead. It's like, sure, the yeast is what actually made it, but I'm the one who put all the supplies into there. I'm the one who then transferred that over and then bottled it. So I get the feeling it's awesome to be able to make your own stuff.
It is.
You know?
It is.
So, well, good sir. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today.
Yeah.
Let the people know, where can they find you?
Facebook, Etsy, all the same name.
Which is
Nano 3D Printing Co.
Okay. And then I know that this isn't specifically with your 3D printing, but possibly maybe stream showing it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So where can they find you? Where can they find you at?
Well, Twitch for sure.
Okay.
It's Northside Manic.
Okay.
That would be where we would be doing that at part of things. And I will also be having YouTube at a point in time in the future, just don't currently. So, but for now it'll be just Twitch. That's where I have it. And I can also share that on my 3D printing page as well. So I can definitely show that will be on Facebook on that Nano 3D Printing Co.
Perfect. And again, links will all be in the description down below. But good sir, I appreciate you hopping on and enlightening us on the 3D printing world.
Oh yeah, it was an honor. I appreciate the time, Paco. And this was a wonderful experience, and hopefully we can do it again.
Definitely. That's going to be it for the second episode of season 3, the Paco Taco podcast. Catch you all on the next one.